Our new whatever ATV for wildland, it can also be turned into a truck, and we'll show you how to do that later. The thought being on the Leela lands, if we need to get access down and haul somebody out, put a backboard on the back of it and move it out is my understanding. And it takes a little bit to do that. Understand that if you call for this, it's going to take a while. This is normally housed in here. It's not hooked up to the battalion, the reserve battalion. So if it gets called for, somebody's got to come down here and get it. If the truck's in house, we can take it there or at least get it hooked up and ready to go. It's got the ATV, and then it has this big job box on the front. A couple things on that. The hitch that goes on here, this is a 2 5/16 ball. It's not a standard 2-inch ball. And that's what the hitch stays in here. This truck actually has one in the back of it also that's used for pulling the boat trailers and the line of duty death trailer. Okay. This is a fairly heavy trailer, especially we're missing some of the stuff out of the job box right now. It's on order, hasn't come in yet. As we load that up, it's going to have a fair amount of tongue weight. Probably if you pull it with a half-ton truck, be real careful. Don't get in a hurry because you won't be able to stop probably. It's liable to push you through. Whenever you show up here, you're going to have to, chances are, if you get called and the truck's out, you're going to have to come hook it up. Make sure that you have the safety chains on. The hitch is latched and pinned. Raise the jack up, and it's a pinnable jack. It can extend up about 3 to 4 inches at a time. Make sure that gets lifted all the way up so we don't drag it off, and then crank it in all the way to the up position. And then make sure that this is secured. This has one strap at the front and one strap at the back. Whenever you have the bumpers, as long as it's touching the bumpers and it's tight, it'll ride well. On a side note, if you have to move the Medic 169, it will also fit on this trailer, okay? And that's we pulled it down to the jet ski races last month, a couple weeks ago. So, and it'll fit on here. You have about 3 to 4 inches of clearance on the back ramps and going from there. Get it hooked up. Go ahead and make sure that both of these are tight. And you can see where they hook up. We have the rings down in the floor. They go in underneath. There's a attachment point here, and then on the back you'll see there's a crossbar, and that's where they recommend towing or securing this for transport. The next thing I would look at is make sure that you have the emergency brake set and go from there. So you get hooked up, you pull to wherever, and then we'll look at move to the back, go through this. You can see whenever the ramps are up, they're all the way to the edge. Whenever you pull these pins, you'll take these, you start working them, they'll slide where you need to. You can kind of look at the boards and line them up where you need them. Now, if you let them go too far, there's springs on these and they'll bind them up and you won't be able to move them at all. Okay, so we get it lined up, drop these, grab that one, slide it over. One of the things to look at where you unload is you're off-road and there's some dips. Kind of pay attention to where these are. As this thing comes off, it's going to set down on those. If there's a big dip right there and you're on a different vehicle, you might pick up the rear end of the truck and slide it. Make sure that the trailer is latched before you load or unload. If not, the weight of this, if that can travel down, it'll actually lift up and probably roll the trailer forward. And in which case it's going to send it into the back of the truck and tear something up. So those should be in a good position. If you're sitting on the ground and they won't quite go down because of a hump, usually they'll go ahead and push on down. The bigger concern is if there's a big gap there, then it's going to try to kick up. So once we get to that point, bust the straps loose. Somebody grab front and back. And then we'll get up, release the parking brake, get it going, and back off. So you have the parking brake over here, the shifter. As you come across these top buttons, you have the headlights, then you have your differential switches. So if you run it there's 3 different positions it can be in. If you're going to be working on pavement, put it on the one-wheel drive. Okay, it allows one drive wheel in the rear, and it'll make it easier to steer on concrete. So we have it out Western days, you can set it in that position, whatnot. If you're taking it off-road and it's fairly dry and pretty solid, You can flip it on to where it just has two rear drive. And if you think you're going to get stuck, you can put it up in four-wheel. If you have it in four-wheel and you run it on concrete, it's not going to turn very well. It jumps around and makes it hard, and it'll take you a lot longer to turn. So those are the advantages of doing that. Again, you have an indicator of what gear you're in on the speedometer whenever that's on. And as you're moving across, over here we have a controller for the winch. It plugs in right here by Billy's knee. Okay? And then you have the winch here, and that's when you can run it out. There is the ability to freewheel it and let the winch out and run it in. I would not be dependent upon me to get pulled out with that. If you get this thing stuck, all six wheels, you probably need a whole lot more winch. So, but you do have that option to hook up on the front. As we're moving around the back, this vehicle was originally designed with a tilt bed. That's been bolted down where you can't tilt it. Because of having the skid unit in there, this lever, you can't pull it. If you need to turn it into a truck style deal, if you remove this out, you have to get under there and remove a U-bolt on both sides to be able to access that. As we get into the skid unit, we have the toolboxes. I don't know exactly what's going to be carried in there. Right now, we're going to have a variety of hand tools. If you're going out for grass fire, wildland stuff, grab whatever tools you want out of there. There'll be a little variety, probably 4 or 5 different tools. Whatever kind of terrain you're in and whatever kind of fire you're in, you grab that. The other thing that'll be in there is a Pro Pack. And so this will be a way to carry stuff, and then once we get the stuff in, there'll probably be an ability to drop some stuff in here where it's easy access to get to. The actual skid unit is 70 gallons, I think. It has the red line, and then it has one discharge on the other side. Ideally, it'll have a Y with some pencil line on that, where you're not using very much water. We took this up, filled it up this morning, and just to see how long it would last, wide open, it'll last you about 3 minutes, and you're out of water. So it's not a big deal. Now, for spot fires at the fireworks show, it should be very handy to go get some stuff. If you get on some mulch, hook it up with the Pro Pack will actually hook straight into this line. You can adjust it out. And you can there's 3 different nozzles on there, and I'll go over those in just a minute. If for some reason we're taking this out on Leela because we need to move a patient or patients out, the way this tank screws in, it's got 2 different straps or 2 different bolts on both sides, and we can remove those. They have a little hook. If you'll take these 2 nuts out, you can unhook them, and then we can actually pull this out. Okay, and this will just slide right out the back. If you dump all the water out of it, it weighs about 250 pounds. 3 to 4 guys can get on it and set it down, and then you'll have just a flat bed if you need to move it. Okay. Let's see. I guess as we move around, the next thing we'll come to is the pump. As far as the pump itself, it runs on one of the Honda engines, like what we have on the fans. It's got the same fuel type. You got a fuel shut off and choke and a driver. And then a switch over here, on-off switch. The front end of it, we have the ability to suction. We do not have any suction at this point, but you can hook in if you have an engine to nurse off of, 1.5-inch adapter, and run it in and be able to pull water. Probably the easier way to do it is you have a big top right here. You take that off and just drop a line down in there. 70 gallons. You have an 1 3/4 line without a nozzle on it. Just drop it down in there. Shouldn't take very long at all to fill it up. Okay. On the front end of the pump, stick that around. So this is our other discharge. This is the hose reel valve right here. That's kept in the off position, and then you can actually shut off the water flow through the nozzle. This one I'm anticipating. I would like to see a Y put on here where you can run some small line if need be for mopping up type stuff, or on the fireworks show, being able just to hit a little bit of water type stuff. Over on this side, come on around, you've got, this acts as a recirc valve. So if we get water flowing, we can actually turn this on and let it recirculate and run through. This is part of your primer. If you pull this down and start pumping, it'll pump water up through the bottom part of the pump and up to here. And it takes, I don't know, about 10 or 12 pumps, and you'll start getting water. Once this thing's got prime, it keeps prime really well right now. It's a brand new pump, you'd expect it to. But we ran it empty earlier today, filled it back up and it primed itself. We didn't have to mess with actually hand pumping it. But if you're going to be idling around, crack this just a little bit. That'll let it recirculate. Okay, and keep it from building up, potentially putting steam or real hot water up here at the top. And then this is basically your coming up out of the tank. That's your valve that allows you to lift. If you were going to hook onto a nurse tank and pump straight off of it, which I don't know why on earth you would, but I guess if you had a hard suction of the ability to suction, you would close that down where it's sucking straight off the back and coming straight into the pump. Any questions on that? So whenever this thing is stored, we're going to tend to keep it either low or empty, just to reduce the weight on the trailer and on the suspension in this. Where chances are it's not going to be used very often, and that's the whole point behind that. And so there actually is back here, we have a valve or a drain valve. This gets to the bottom of the tank. Here's your level of the tank. You can see it's floating right here. So right now we've got it pretty full. We'll pull it out here in a minute and let you guys play with that part of it. But most of the time it's going to be down here in the lower third, or you won't be able to see it at all. So one of the things you can do is if you're hooking up the truck, go ahead and drop the hose in here and start filling it up just right off here. And then it doesn't take very long with this hose, probably 10 minutes it'll be close to full. But if you get it 2/3 full, pull up on scene, you need to top off there, use your better judgment on that. Let's see, what else? Any questions so far? I'm grabbing that Pro Pack. My guys, that's right. So, the Pro Pack, it's set up in Class A foam, which we do not have any in the box yet. That's coming. Here's your extension. You have 3 different nozzles, depending on what your goal is. You have a little bitty, it's like a 3/16, just a smooth bore. This is a bigger tip, but it has aeration in it. It has about 5 or 6 holes to draw air in. It's going to throw a little more foam where you have this. And all these will just twist right on. The end right here, like this, twist it on here. And then you can undo your red line and hook it into this backside. It's just standard, whatever it is. I think it's a 1-inch collar, or 1-inch threaded collar. Now, if you're going to do that, it's pretty awkward. This is going to get pretty heavy between tote and the red line. So you probably want the shoulder strap on. You can adjust the amount of foam right here. That adjusts your air mix as you're doing it, and or your pickup as it flows through. I have not played with this to see where we're guessing in the 40 to 50 psi range, and this thing will push up. I think it's 75 to 80 pounds flowing it wide open. So this should slow that system down. So you should have a little more pressure because you're not flowing as much volume. And that's pretty much the Pro Pack. Like I say, that goes in the big toolbox, the big job box on the back of the, or the front of the trailer. Any questions? Everybody know this is, for flowing this is your on-off, okay? That, just like you twist a nozzle, that's what this part of this handle does. So if you're carrying it without a shoulder strap, it's gonna be hard to control probably. It's probably 40 feet of hose. It's like, again, hopefully we get some of the wild line, some of the pencil line on there and have the ability to extend out a little further. All right. Somebody wants to hop on here, put it down into low where the one wheel's driving, on the switch on that center console. To pull it out, it has the lights. You have one light switch catches this big one in the front and the big one in the back. And then you have another one that catches these side corner lights on the rear. So those switches, whenever you flip them on, you'll have lights front and back, or you'll have them kicked off at a 45.